Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely September Tuesday. My gosh, I can't believe it is almost October. We are really chugging along through 2022. Wanted to say again, thank you for joining me. This is Sales Boomerang University, our market relevant end of month Sales Boomerang University. For those who are attending, we have also been doing Sales Boomerang 101, 201, and later today we will have 301 as well. And those will be recurring globally every single month on the first, second, and third Tuesday of the month. So if you want to join some beginner sessions, maybe you are an administrator or someone who's an executive and you would like to point some new hires to our 101, or maybe you've got some upper level producers or some mid-level producers that you kind of wanted to get a little bit sharper, we've got 201 and 301 as well. But today we're going to be talking about how to make sure that your borrowers and your pipeline are recession proof and getting ahead of the possibilities that 2023 holds. I do have a little lint on my hat here. There we go. So I wanted to get into it a little bit. And here we go. We got our beautiful slide deck here. Not going to be terribly long today. Wanted to keep it concise, somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes, guys. Again, welcome to Sales Boomerang University. And if I can get my screen to go, there we are. So are you recession proof? How can Sales Boomerang Mortgage Coach help prepare your borrowers and your pipeline for 2023 and beyond? So we're going to be covering, hey, how can I use life event alerts without my borrowers feeling a little creeped out? Something we have talked about a bit in the past, just wanted to bring it back up and how we can use those to help get ahead of 2023. Hey, Sales Boomerang's always talking about these cash out refinances. My lender doesn't really do a ton of cash out refis. Why would I use that alert or that insight? And then finally wanted to talk about Mortgage Coach. Hey, if I'm using these proactive maybe insights to get to the customer first, then why do I need Mortgage Coach? How can they help me close the deal if I'm the first one there? Ultimately, my name is Spencer Schultz. I am an adoption and growth strategist with Sales Boomerang. I am a former LO myself, was a producer for around 4 years, got into the data and analytics side of things. And now I'm at Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach here, trying to help spread the love, spread the knowledge, do everything I can to help share what other top producers are doing. My goal is not to tell you things that sound really good on paper from someone who's not closing loans. I'm trying to help you guys understand where you can see what top producers, what guys like Jeremy Forcier, who are doing 240 million in loan volume in 2021 and on a pretty torrid pace in 2022. What are they doing in this market? How are they staying ahead of the market as well as other lenders using all of these outstanding insights that we have? So with that, guys, recession, it's a buzzword. It is something that, raises the hairs on people's arms and gets people, a little upset. Hey, what technically is a recession and all of those conversations? Well, I was just reading through, obviously there's a ton of analysis done on these, was reading through Fannie Mae's economic findings, and hey, they're expecting 2023 to have a little bit of a downturn. They think that it's going to be a little slow and that the anticipated federal fund rate is going to top out on an average of 3.5 to 3.75% early 2023. So ultimately, with that in mind, hey, recession's a possibility. It's something that we want to go through and make sure our borrowers are prepared for, as well as our pipelines and our teams. And at the same time, debt is at an all-time high right now. Key findings here that debt is at an amount where the average is somewhere around $7,000, especially in the West Coast, over $7,000 for the average credit card debt per consumer in America, 4.2 trillion, a ton of debt out there. And in the event of a recession, which is something that isn't unlikely right now, that compounding interest is something that could really struggle could ultimately make borrowers struggle to work through under some dire circumstances. So we wanted to look at a couple different options here to see how can I help my borrowers work through debt and work through the possibility of recession. Let's have a proactive conversation with our borrowers reaching out ahead of these circumstances. So wanted to go through Sales Boomerang's product suite, guys. Today, we are going to be utilizing the life event alerts. Get notified when anything that would likely result in a mortgage transaction through public record would occur: marriage, death, divorce, empty nest, emerging professional. We'll get into that specifically. I would definitely say that our equity insight here also applies. Reverse mortgage, those are a little niche, but hey, retirement planning is a big part of this as well, and how that can have adverse effects to someone who's on the bridge of retirement, going into a recession, going into a little uncertainty there. We also have our credit improvement, and I would really love to talk about our cash out alert, like I mentioned as well. My arrow's going a little crazy here, but here's cash out on the side. So with that, guys, the goal here is that we want to get ahead of the triggers. Once the gates open and the horses are kind of out of the proverbial gate in terms of, hey, someone's shopping with the mortgage inquiry, or they've listed their home for sale, or some of these trigger alerts that are more defensive. How can I have a more proactive conversation ahead of other lenders and talk about next year's market or the end of the year's market, so that I'm looking to the future and anticipating the next loan, the next 3 loans, the long-term impacts of my borrower situations. So that's our kind of goals here today, guys, going through, and really did want to talk about these life events and these alerts that we have. So like I said, anything over the last 18 months that goes into public record that likely would trigger a mortgage transaction, we are able to scour through over 5,500 different resources at Sales Boomerang once it goes on public record. And we're not talking about, 3 days later and saying, hey, I saw someone died 2 days ago. You need any help? That's not the approach we're taking here, guys. And there is kind of a type A way to go about it and a type B way to go about it. But with that, we're able to be proactive. Let's be upfront and be honest about these alerts that we have. We have really advanced technology. There's a show called Big Brother. How many seasons are they on? 40. It's existed for 20, 25 years. When you are working with a borrower, this maybe applies a little more to past borrowers as opposed to our prospects or, new relationships. But if they've trusted you with a 30-year debt obligation, they want you to look out for them. They want you to be in the know, and you can be upfront about it. You don't need to hide that you have the capacity to see when something happens. So when you're working through your pipeline, working through conversations, be proud of this technology. Say, hey, wanted to let you know we have some of the top technology, and Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach being that technology. We have some of the top tech in the industry because we care about a borrower for life relationship. We don't want to leave any borrowers behind when life happens. Like I have number 2 here, guys. How can you be a borrower for life without being there when life happens, guys? Be upfront about it as you're working through your pipeline organically. Hey, when something happens, we want to make sure that we're on top of it so that we're able to help you as quickly as possible, minimize damage, work through challenges, or to grow and spread your wings. We have one that's emerging professional, which shows, hey, who in my pipeline or in my database has gotten a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, could be looking to potentially move somewhere else or, move closer to work, or, hey, how could they upgrade their work from home situation, or maybe use some of their sunny day fund as opposed to a rainy day fund to tap into some equity and things of that nature. So, hey, be honest about these, be proud about these. It's all right. This is available and exists. This is a non-credit alert ultimately as well. So you're going to see, hey, who in my database has life happening in front of them and could maybe use a little bit of assistance. And there's, that strategy. You want to let everyone know that you do have this technology if it's something that you have turned on at your lender. But at the same time, you also want to be able to go through passively at times. Hey, maybe the death was recent. We don't need to say, hey, saw someone died. Do you need any help? It can be, hey, we have a borrower retention program that we call No Borrower Left Behind. And that is Sales Boomerang. That is your borrower retention program. And I wanted to make sure if there are any adverse or exciting challenges or new beginnings in life that we're here to answer any questions and open up possibilities. And just having that timely little entry could be the way. Hey, maybe you do want to be a little bit more type A, especially with some of the more shiny and bright and light matters such as marriage or, a new birth in the family, things of that nature, guys. But this is a great way just to show who could be in line for their next loan. And let's get ahead of it. Let's talk about how they could use equity, or how they could use, a buy down strategy, or how they could use all of these awesome possibilities to help coincide with life. So again, how can you be a lender for life without being there with life happens, guys? That is our life event alerts. Wanted to talk about the cash out alert as well, and moving into, hey, maybe I'm an LO and I don't really get a ton of bips back on cash out refinances. Sales Boomerang is always talking about these cash out refis. Why do I need these? And we had someone say, hey, I received a life event alert the other day for an empty nest. I am going to backtrack in the chat here. How does that system pick that up? That would be picked up by someone in their household going into a university or receiving a high school diploma, and that there would be no one else in their record, in their file, anything that we can see indicating that the last of their kids has moved on. It's all through public record. So they're most likely left with an empty nest. And hey, maybe that's not the case. I would always say something like that. See if you can confirm it through LinkedIn. See if you can confirm it through Facebook or Instagram or social media. We always do want to have that relationship. We can also use those with our referral partners. We could put that word out for them. Hey, saw that, John Doe at 123 Appleseed Way. I'm going to backtrack here to the life events page and say, hey, maybe, John Doe at 123 Appleseed Way, John and Jane Doe, seems like they have an empty nest situation. I was alerted through my system and wanted to see if you wanted to contact them to see if they've considered maybe downsizing or moving closer to their, forever home destination in Sarasota, wherever it is, things like that. So I think that's a really easy way to, fortify your realtor and referral partner relationships while also providing value to your borrowers. We have a couple other questions here. Is Sales Boomerang available to smaller mortgage companies? Correct. We are available to everyone, every lender. Also, how does Sales Boomerang develop these alerts? For our credit alerts, we work directly with TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So there's no middleman there. We are working directly with the bureaus to meet these trigger criterias and things of that nature. We also use funded information or previously funded information, as well as core logic. So that's kind of our cocktail, our medley of how we're breaking it down. Love the questions. Thank you so much, guys. That's why I'm here. Please keep them coming in. So again, moving on to cash out insights, guys, we want to look at the big picture. And these alerts, they are going to look at not just, equity positions and not just any one piece of information. I'm going to try and list out all the things. I like to think of cash out, not for cash out refinances first, but I like to think of them as the and alert. And I'm going to tell you why. Number one, I know directly from TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax models that borrower is credit qualified for a cash out alert. I can set that credit criteria wherever I want. If I only want to see 700 and above, then you will only see 700 and above. That is a customizable watch setting that we have. Number two, it contains an equity insight as well. So we're not breaking any news by saying people have equity. Equity still is up very high. I think last month there was a report in between $55,000 and $65,000 on average. Since this time in 2021, homeowners' equity has increased. But we're going to show you what is the improvement from closing inside of that alert, as well as what is the tappable equity. So just because they have $55,000 in equity in that hypothetical, does that mean they could take all of it out, or what would get them back to an 80 LTV? So we're going to do the math for you too. So that's number two there. Number three in the cash out insight, we have one of the best, if not the best, proprietary aggregates of 3 AVMs in the mortgage intelligence space. We work with Black Knight as well as 2 other top AVMs with our own aggregate. We like to say at Sales Boomerang that we are overwhelmingly conservative when it comes to home values so that you're not begrudgingly disappointed. We don't want you to get this alert. And I say, hey, hey, LO, this borrower's home value, Joe Smith here in the example, let's say Joe Smith, I tell you his home value is $750,000. And then you're like, all right, Joe, well, here's how the numbers work out at 750. This is what we think it is. You get the appraisal back. It's 645. We were way off. You're frustrated. The borrower's disappointed and might be looking to another LO. That's the situation we want to avoid. We don't want to overpromise and under deliver. So like I said, we try to be conservative, but our home values are outstanding. On top of that, you also get a debt signal. So within that, we are able to see directly from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, what is the total revolving credit card debt that a borrower says? Let's call that 10 grand, as well as, is there a HELOC balance within that alert too? Oh, so let's say, they've got a second mortgage and they've got $40,000 in that, $10,000 in credit card bills. At this point, I know their credit. I know how much equity they have. I know their home value. I know their debt. I know what loan type they're in. Even if I didn't get this information from a previously funded deal, let's say this is a lead. We use core logic at Sales Boomerang that will be able to pick up any mortgage activity. So let's say, oh, I worked with them back in 2017 and got them in an FHA loan. And in 2020, they ended up refinancing at a different rate. Core logic will let us know, and we'll be able to go through that and make sure that we have the most up-to-date information in our prescriptive scenarios here. So with that, guys, we're really able, like I said, to look at the big picture. We're not just talking about a cash out refinance. If someone has a really substantial equity position and we're talking about, hey, how can I make my borrowers recession proof? Maybe they should consider diversifying their portfolio to minimize losses. Have they considered an investment property? Have they prepared to, hey, maybe they would be able to pull some cash out as home values kind of button down a little bit and start to shrink, and there's less competitive offers going on. Maybe they could strike and take advantage of that situation with an investment property. Hey, we're talking about life events. Maybe someone who's got a master's degree wants to start their own business, something like that. Use a sunny day fund as opposed to a personal loan. Hey, Maybe they want to upsize. Maybe they want to downsize. Let's have all of those conversations. Let's make sure that we're ultimately looking at each possibility and going through all of the wealth of information that we have. One of my favorite things to say is that as an LO, if I don't ask, then I won't know. If I don't ask a borrower, have you considered an investment property? They won't know. They won't know if that's a possibility, and I won't know if they're interested. America asked, is this integrated with HomeBot? HomeBot is an outstanding resource. We do not currently integrate with HomeBot, unfortunately. We also have, I've been using Sales Boomerang for a year, but I'm not using it effectively. Can I call and get some coaching strategy? Of course you can. So again, we have Sales Boomerang 101, 201, and 301. Also, please reach out to your admin and see who your CSM is. We're able to do branch specific, LO specific, manager specific, whatever you'd like, custom trainings. We can have a pre-call about it, discuss what you'd like to see specifically within that training. And then we can get some coaching and make sure that you understand the capacities of the full system and everything that we do. So with that, guys, cash out is a great way to look at a borrower's complete financial picture, considering their credit, considering their debt, considering their equity, considering all of those things. I know everything. It is the and alert because I know everything about a borrower's complete financial picture. I'm able to be the captain of the financial table for a borrower. I can refer them to a realtor using this cash out alert. I can refer them to a financial advisor. I can use this to enhance my referral possibilities as well. So this is an insight that you're getting. Now we're going to talk about the strategy a little bit. And that's what Sales Boomerang does when we combine with Mortgage Coach. We're not just talking about the signal. Hey, who should I look at and monitor and see for activity? All right, I'm going to look at everyone in my database. Okay, then what is the insight? Okay, there's the cash out alert. You can see the conventional cash out right here. Okay, there's the insight. Now we're going to talk about the strategy. And this is where Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach go further than what Zillow does or further than what Rocket Mortgage does. This is how you get a borrower for life relationship, guys. Mortgage Coach, if you're not currently utilizing Mortgage Coach, which we integrate directly with Mortgage Coach. So these insights turn into a Mortgage Coach TCA, which I'll show for you. You can kind of see an example of one here in the middle. The quote date here, a current versus a conventional 30-year fixed versus a conventional 15-year fixed. If you're not using personal branding to separate yourself from a Mortgage Coach, separate yourself from a Zillow or a Rocket Mortgage, you're falling behind. If you're not examining different loan options, like I just said, the current versus up-to-date 30-year fixed versus a conventional 15-year fixed. Awesome. You need to be understanding how to display to borrowers all of their options side by side. And that's what Mortgage Coach does so well. We're able to use these really easy to present graphs and charts. All right, here's 3 examples of your Mortgage Coach total cost analysis. We're looking at monthly payment savings, number 1. We're looking at the short-term impact, number 2. All right, how much do I save over the next 60 months in these 3 scenarios? And then we're looking at the long-term impact. These are strategies, guys, long-term strategies. All right, here's how much interest in mortgage insurance I'd be paying in my current loan versus a conventional 30-year fixed versus a conventional 15-year fixed. We're talking about today, we're talking about tomorrow, and we're talking about deep into the future. That is strategizing to help borrowers do things like establish wealth, become financially free. When we get someone in a loan, that's great. We make some money on it. Our goal isn't to make someone a loan owner. It's to make them a homeowner. We want to help these borrowers get out of their mortgage. We want to help them pay it off and, empower them to retire, provide for their family, have all these awesome options. So that is where Mortgage Coach goes above and beyond. We can also look into sending personalized video content here, guys. What's the difference between LO from, a lender like you guys and someone that's, at Rocket Mortgage that you just tap a couple buttons, you never talk to anyone? It's the personal factor of it. It's being able to, send a video. Some LOs that don't even use Mortgage Coach, you should be doing the same thing if you're not, but Mortgage Coach helps you do it and do things like see when they open your video so that you can be timely. But, hey, here's what we're talking about. Being recession proof. Take your cell phone, contact a borrower like this, sit your cell phone down, say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. John Doe, this is Spencer with SB Lender. I was doing an annual free mortgage health review, part of a service we do at SB Lender. Wanted to make sure you were recession proof ahead of next year. What we're anticipating is the possibility of recession. So you have some interesting possibilities. Wanted to ask you some questions about your goals and make sure that your mortgage is working for you. Hey, I've got some time for you on Friday at noon. I like to give them a hard deadline. And then, hey, if that doesn't work for you, shoot me a text or I'll be waiting for your call Friday at noon. I scheduled a meeting. 30 seconds right there. Send that video. That's personalized video content. Do you feel the difference between that, guys, and a Rocket Mortgage, app that you just tap a couple buttons and they send you a mortgage? They never compare any loan options. They never reach out to you and really try to facilitate the human element of it. What are my goals? Things of that nature. So these are the things that separate Mortgage Coach, the strategy aspect, and allows you to get that visibility into your relationships with your borrowers. So this is what Mortgage Coach does in 3 things, guys. Number 1, comparing different loan options. Hey, it releases the veil. We're not rate jockeys. We want to be data-driven mortgage advisors. We want to uncover that veil, take the wool out from over our borrowers' eyes. Hey, here's your current loan. Here's what you could be in a 30-year. Here's what you could be in a 15-year. Here's what you could be in, all these different options. Which one works for you? Number 2, you can then examine the cost over time, like we said, short and long-term goals. And then, hey, how do I get this borrower to become financially free here, guys? This is the key right here. How do I help them reduce interest payments, get to the point where they own the home outright and don't have a mortgage anymore? Things of that nature. We're looking at the beautiful combination of short and long-term strategies. So here's some examples again, guys, a little more. Here's a debt consolidation Mortgage Coach TCA. We're looking at, hey, here's the current. And we're able to do all of this live with a borrower remotely from anywhere. We can break it down and highlight things for them. Say, hey, okay, well, if you do a 30-year, the rate here is not perfect considering what rates are, just hypothetically with me. Hey, here's a 30-year option. Here's, adding another $500 to put away. Here's an investment situation as well. I can direct their attention here to the monthly savings live and say, okay, any of these 3 options are going to save you $1,100 a month, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower. Then let's talk about how much that is over the next 60 months. Hey, putting away that extra $500 or paying off that extra $500 a month, reducing the terms of your mortgage, you're going to be financially free here in 11 years as opposed to 18. You're going to pay your mortgage off 7 years faster versus this 30-year situation or versus the investment here. So, hey, would you rather invest and have that look at the long-term strategy now? You could pay the same thing or reduce your monthly payment. Here's how your net worth is impacted. Same thing. And we're going to add another, $140,000 to your net worth as opposed to what you're in now. Or, hey, here's how we pay your home off a little bit faster with that payment. You're going to have a higher amount of equity because you've been paying it off faster. So breaking down all of those things for a borrower side by side, all 4 of them here, guys, that is how we're going to help these borrowers see the full impact of the decisions that they make. So in turn, what am I doing? I'm removing the veil and I'm empowering the borrower and giving them confidence in their decisions by showing them all of their alternatives. It's going to go speed to lead, guys. We're going to reduce the amount of time it takes for borrowers to feel confident and to come to a decision. We are taking the veil off of the mortgage industry for them. That's how you get someone. If you show someone this, as opposed to, bear with me here, guys, I might have forgotten this slide that I wanted to show, but if you're using that as opposed to this, the antiquated fee worksheet, no one's ever going to want to go back to this. No one's ever going to want to go back to this. They're only going to work with someone that went through, provided all of their options, broke it down like that. I mean, in any form of sales, let alone a 30-year debt obligation, a mortgage is the most serious financial commitment you could make. Do you want to be reading off of something that it looks like you stumbled into the back room at Bob's Discount Furniture and you're looking through their inventory sheet? Or do you want to have this beautiful personalized content with a video in it that you can narrate? You can also view, like I said, when the borrower opens it, all of these things here, guys. This is Netflix. This is Blockbuster. This is Netflix, guys. This is the future of the industry. This is streaming services as opposed to the veil of, oh, I'm going to go to Blockbuster and pick out a movie here, hypothetically, pick out a loan. I really only can see what is on this fee worksheet. I really only can pick a movie from what's in store there. Now we've got a full library of hundreds of thousands of hours of movies here, essentially. That's the comparison I like to make. In the words of Fergie, if you're not 3008, you are 2000 and late. Mortgage Coach on average pricing varies. We'll share some info on that, but $99 per month per user typically to present all of this and help your borrowers come to a faster decision, guys. Here's an example of a pre-approval, and I'm able to highlight in my presentation what a borrower can use. Hey, here's the cost of waiting with future casting, guys. If I keep waiting and it gets up, 100 basis points here, guys, How is that going to affect me? The purchase price, the loan amount, the rate, how much more am I going to pay? All of those kinds of things, guys, ultimately, how much higher is my payment? Okay, right here, if I strike fast before rates continue to increase next year, that's going to save me hundreds of dollars a month, guys, hundreds of dollars a month. Here's the monthly savings. Here's all of these different aspects. Here's what happens at 6.5%. So being able to show that cost of time and waiting is so powerful in this easy to break down demonstration, guys. So that's really my whole spiel here today, my friends. Wanted to get into my very basic things. If you're a top producer, you're going to roll your eyes. If you're developing, this is for you. Here's my big things, guys. If you don't call, if you don't text, if you're not really sending a personalized video and a mortgage coach TCA, which is the number one way to get a response right now, you're going to increase by 40% the average of responses that you get if you send a mortgage coach TCA instead of, some generic email. But I digress. If you don't follow up on the insight that you get from Sales Boomerang, on the alert, you won't close the loan. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I do these trainings. I went and did one with a lender partner of ours. LOs didn't pick up on them. They just, old dogs don't want any new tricks. They had 1,700 of these alerts sitting in what they called a pond. 1,700 actionable conversations, opportunities to find loan volume, to find business when it's down, when rates are high, when we're struggling to find business, and you're not going to call, you're not going to text, you're not going to move your fingers for 15 seconds, then I've got nothing for you. If you don't take action, if you don't turn this digital, intangible thing into a real conversation or attempt at one, you're not going to close the loan. Number two, guys, I want to say it again. If you don't ask, you won't know, and neither will the borrower. You are the mortgage expert. You are the one that has the strategy, has the insight, knows what smart borrowers are doing today, what is recommended in order to accomplish certain goals or reduce payments or, get to something faster. If you don't ask, if you're not curious, and I really want to go over the power of a couple of phrases when you're speaking with a borrower. Could you elaborate on that? I'm sorry, could you tell me more about that? I want to make sure I fully understand your goals. Things like that. Probe them further. If they're a little cold, hey, maybe sometimes it's not the right time and you can feel that out. And maybe it's another better time to talk is tomorrow. Ask them that. Sure. Hey, is there a better time to get in touch? I, don't want to be, hitting you at the wrong time, whatever. But if you don't ask a borrower, you won't know if they're interested and they won't know it's possible. Be curious, guys. Finally, get closure out of every alert, every conversation. What is the result here? I used to be a junior LO. I hadn't gotten my license yet. I wasn't allowed to talk about certain things. And I would get given lending tree leads. I would get given a name, a phone number, and an address. I would look it up on Zillow and I would give it a call. And with that call, I would many times, pardon my French, but kind of get given the middle finger through the phone. That's okay. That's a red. I like to think of it as greens, yellows, and reds. Someone's not interested. It's not for them. They're moving forward. Didn't get any traction. You tried your best. That's fine. In your CRM, take down a note, say, hey, here's what happened. Here's what I attempted to do. And hey, I'll contact them next time I get an alert or an insight. Okay. Then I've got my yellows. Hey, maybe I talked to them about doing a construction renovation loan. The Mr. and Mrs. borrower said they were interested in adding on a deck ahead of next summer, but now's a little busy for them. So they asked if I could call maybe sometime a week or two before Thanksgiving. Perfect. I'm not going to strike today on that, but I'm going to take down some notes. I'm going to create a task for myself in my CRM. I'm going to bring that conversation when is requested. I'm going to be accountable and follow up and show that borrower that I am and have the relevant information that I need because I took the time to take my notes, and I'll proceed accordingly. Then I've got my greens. I pulled credit. Or I'm supposed to call tomorrow to, maybe the missus knows a little more about the financials. So she's going to be home tomorrow from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And I'm going to call then. I'm getting them pre-approved. I'm moving forward. Greens, yellows, reds for my developing LOs. Organize yourself, organize your pipeline, and you will find success. So with that, guys, these tools are how we can help borrowers become recession proof. And that is a tagline that you can use right now in these conversations. Hey, are you recession proof, Mr. or Mrs. borrower? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, have you considered all of your options? What's your worst case scenario? What's your best case scenario if, X, Y, or Z happens next year? You don't want to fear monger, but hey, are you okay with your current debts? Do you have a safety net? Do you have that parachute to be able to fall back on in case the event of, something unforeseen happening? I wanted to make sure you're aware of your options if that were to happen, so that we can minimize the damage. and go over these options. Have this conversation. It doesn't need to be a loan today. Would that be great? Would we love to close more today, now, make money? Yes. But you're preparing them for the future, and they're going to want to come back to you. You're going to be a trusted advisor as opposed to a random, robocaller, essentially, in their mind. So using these tools, we can be proactive, we can beat other lenders, and we can stay ahead of the market. That way, the market doesn't dictate our success. Our success isn't determined by what the rates are today. Our success isn't determined by what our lender's offering as opposed to other lenders. If Rocket Mortgage is offering, a quarter of a point better, it might not matter because they don't have that element. They don't trust Rocket Mortgage. They don't trust, these giant conglomerate lenders. They're not having these conversations. So if you're able to have that first and you're able to establish that trust, then you're able to ultimately help get to the finish line is the point of this silly little slide here, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Spencer Schultz. Hope this was useful for you guys. We're doing one of these market relevant ones at the end of every month. I encourage you and your team to join us for Sales Boomerang 301 later today. We're going to talk about all of our prescriptive scenarios. We will be getting back into cash out, rate and term, our MI removal, as well as the life events a little deeper as well. Again, those are occurring every third Tuesday of the month, starting next month. We have 101 on the first Tuesday and 201 on the second Tuesday. You should be receiving information, marketing emails from Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach on those. Sales Boomerang pricing, you can schedule a demo. I believe Nicole has shared some links that you'll receive for attending this registration, and there's unique pricing that you'll be able to subscribe to and have that impact on your pipeline, on your bottom line, and for your borrowers. Let's see if we have any others. The webinar is recorded, Paul. Yes. And a small broker shop. How do I get pricing? You will be able to get the pricing available if you go through a demo, and you can go over pricing that way, my friend, and make sure that it's something that works for you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. That's all I have for you today. I appreciate your time. Go help some people, go close some loans.